Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boring Enterprise Nerdcast, where two boring enterprise nerds, Paul Moderman here and myself, Elena Perfilieva, we talk about all things SAP, ERP, AI, cloud, etc., etc. But today we have very interesting but also boring subject of SAP Developer Survey. So let's dig in. I'm gonna share my screen. So what we have for you today, Paul and I have looked at the survey results shared from 2023, and we also did similar podcast in 2022. So we will look a little bit at the year of the past year and try to do some comparisons and discuss that. But new this year, Stack Overflow also shared their developer survey results. So we will
Yeah.
also take a peek at that and see how SAP universe compares to the rest of the development world. So it's a very, very exciting. So let's dig in, Paul. So first of all, these surveys are run by SAP community website.
Yeah.
We can see this year there have been about 2,500 responses from developers in many countries. Yeah.
One of the first,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry to jump in right here, but one of the
Sure. Yeah.
first things that always hits me with this kinds of surveys is that it's voluntary, right?
Yeah.
How many SAP developers are there in the universe? Right?
Yeah. Very,
Like
very many. Yeah.
there's like would it be out of bounds to say that there's at least 500 times as many developers as there are survey takers? Are there like a million plus SAP developers out there in the world?
Well, it's also not just developers. If we look at, I think it's called Developer Insights survey. But when we look at the professions who answered it, it's
Yeah,
like architects, etc. So I think maybe, it's definitely targeted towards developers, but probably should include SAP professionals. I can say that with one very large company that I worked before, not gonna name names, but our Slack channel, I think included something like 14,000 people. So that's just one company.
yeah.
So yeah, there are definitely many, many, I don't know if millions, but definitely many, many tens of thousands of SAP
There's
developers around.
there have got to be hundreds of
Yeah,
thousands of them at least in the
yeah.
world. The reason I bring it up, this
Hmm.
number stuff, is that like to see 2,500 roughly voluntary responses out of a total addressable market of hundreds of thousands,
Hmm.
probably. This is like such a distilled, filtered view on it
Mm.
that like it's valuable too. But I think it is probably the case that this is, you could probably subtitle this survey 2023 SAP Developer Insights Survey, subtitle people who actually care,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah,
the great majority of people, like professional developers, don't do things like this.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I just a kind of a thing to think
yeah.
about.
So definitely, why MMV, as we say,
Yeah.
your mileage may vary.
Yeah.
But I think we noted this last year. It's really great that there is a lot of transparency around the survey. There is
Yep.
methodology shared and
Yep.
all the details of how results were evaluated, etc. So we
Love this
really
survey.
enjoy this.
Love
Yeah,
it.
love the survey. It was very, very interesting. So employment status, I feel there is no difference. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, what else do you expect here type of answer? So age distribution, that's a bit peculiar to me. Um, and so we see comparison here of 2023 versus last year. So definitely growth, significant growth in 55 or above territory. And I'm not even yet, just I'm moving there
Yeah.
definitely, but I'm still kind of in this demographic,
Yeah.
thankfully. Um, but so I find that it's interestingly compares to Stack Overflow survey, where this part is much, much less represented,
Yeah.
or even this part. So
Yeah.
they do
Yep.
have different buckets, so it's hard to compare, but it's definitely much younger audience than here, which I think makes sense because SAP world kind of attracts more, I think, mature professionals. Yeah, not very
Yeah.
popular with the up and coming crowd.
I
But
think,
yeah.
I think one thing too is that like, I mean, the survey folks here note that the 55 plus category is, there's a significant increase there. And yeah,
Mhm.
sure. The techie dork side of me is like, give me all the new stuff. I want to try everything, right?
Mhm.
SAP is love or hate anything else. SAP is like a relatively dependable thing to be like, hey, what I was doing here 10 years ago, I
Mm.
can probably still go get work doing
Oh yeah.
now. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different sort of target for tech skill type people than like web dev is like comparatively the Wild West,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one was workplace and trends, and we have written in our newsletter. We have newsletter by the way. If someone doesn't know where we
Subscribe
write,
now.
yeah, subscribe now. Hit that subscribe button in another place. Not
Yeah, not this one. I
yeah,
mean, hit
not
this
this
one
one. Yeah,
too.
there is.
Do
Yeah,
this one too, but
hit all
also
of
do
them. All subscribe to everything. So we, and I think Paul, it was your article, I think, where you have written about work from home,
yeah.
and there is definitely a lot of noise about like, yeah, oh yeah, let's all go back to the office, and everyone's like, yeah, let's not. Um, I'm kind of curious about these results. It shows that home office have been declining, and this year there is
Yeah.
significant drop
Mhm.
and increase in working in office. I think Stack Overflow had slightly better question here. They were also asking about, let me get the exact link. So they were asking about hybrid work, because I
Mm.
think there are some companies that are just officially offering kind of hybrid work
I
arrangements
think
where
that's
they
a
give you freedom essentially if you want to. Yeah,
yeah.
so it's, I think this is probably much more representative of what is actually
Yeah.
happening, and I don't know if this was the actual multiple choice question or not, because if it wasn't, then I don't know how some people in hybrid situation would answer that. If you um
Yeah.
yeah, like go to the office on some days and yeah,
That's
mostly work
that's very
from
interesting.
home.
The other thing too is that like in this kind of space, thinking about there's just the workplace, work from home in general. You remember, before the pandemic hit,
Hmm.
it was the case that like your crusty old manager would be like, "Why are you working from home?" Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, right?
Yeah.
And now, even though places are trying to encourage like, come back to the office, please, everyone's just like cool with, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll do hybrid. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you decide to work from home tomorrow, who cares, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like, even though there's this like feeling of like people wanting manager type people wanting to come back to the office,
Hmm.
I think the reality is hybrid is the universe now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So essentially, stigma has been removed from
Yeah,
working from home. Before it was like, oh, you must be watching cartoons all day. Meh, meh,
yeah,
meh.
you're
Like,
in big trouble.
yeah, exactly. Well, you're actually doing more and just being more productive on your own time. So I
Yeah,
kind of disagree. It shows clear trend of employees moving back. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
there is probably more of it just because it's safer, but
yeah.
yeah, we wouldn't call it a trend really, not with the statistics. So country, that's very interesting question and answer this year. So compared to, there is no comparison here, but if we look at the last year's survey, let me find, sorry, me find the same question here. So last year, Germany was leading, with India being second and US being third,
Mm,
which actually was more of a surprise to me because, and it's again was probably demographics of people who answered the survey was
yeah,
probably just reflected in it. But I think if we look at the reality, that's probably correct breakdown, I guess, of what we're seeing. There's definitely just, I mean, more physically more developers in India than in Germany and United States.
you know, I have a snarky observation here with that is
Go
like
for it.
I have another possible subtitle for this. So SAP Developer Insights Survey 2023 semicolon a survey of where social media found the most people to respond to this.
Yeah.
Right? Because like that's a
Yeah.
huge flip in one year. And does that represent actually like that many that much of a trend, or does it represent, just like we've always said, it's just hard to get like the full results because people can choose to answer or not, right? So
Yeah,
this is a tough one to look at.
yeah.
But I mean, like this one, if I listen to my gut, this feels more true to what the world is, right? Like India clearly has the most people that are doing
I
this,
mean, it just I mean,
It just is,
numbers just align. I
Numbers
mean,
just,
it would make
yeah,
sense. There would be
yeah,
more, more people. I mean, if we're not talking some kind of percentages purely
yeah,
by head count of
yeah.
people living in India, how could there
How
possibly
could
be
there not be?
fewer SAP
Yeah,
developers in another country? So, yeah,
yeah.
I think it's a fair point. And again, there are probably much more people in China, but again, people
No
who would
clicks. Yeah,
respond, yeah, people who are even able to respond or feel comfortable responding, that's
yeah,
definitely affecting this numbers. So yeah, I would take this kind of information with just a little bit of dash of salt, maybe. All right, so let's moving on. So this is where it gets really interesting. I looked at it and like, well, this is developer survey. So what is this question even doing here? And
you know, I kind of think what it means is,
mhm,
yeah, my title is developer, but sometimes I am
yeah,
a UX designer, right?
yeah, yeah,
Because this isn't
yeah.
like this adds up to way more than 100. This is like you could pick more than one
Yes,
answer from
yes,
this
yeah.
question.
So
Yeah,
yeah, so and it's great that it clearly shows it was
yeah.
multiple choice
It's like,
and
yeah,
yeah, which roles describe your day-to-day
yeah,
work. And just by huge variety of these options, you can see how broad responsibilities
yeah,
are often SAP developer. There
yeah,
isn't even similar question in the Stack Overflow survey because I mean developer does development normally. That's what
yeah,
developers do. But here you can be architect, you can be designer, you can be analyst, you can wear so many hats at the same time.
yeah,
I think it's really amazing, and you got to admire capacity and also wide range of skills of SAP
yeah.
developers just
Yep,
doing
yep.
all those interesting, unsurprising that developer leads. I mean, yeah,
Mm.
architecture roles. Um, I think another point that I just kind of made my mental note on, there might be not real understanding of what architect role means. I think sometimes people think they are architecting something where really, to me, architects is really different profession. So it might be just people are thinking they're architects where it's not really what I would
Oh
call the
yeah,
architect of job. So I don't know.
yeah,
Yeah, there is a tons of confusion, I think, around
yeah,
architect titles and what it really means for everyone. All right, so development domains. I think it is comparable to the last year. So last year, I think there was slightly different spin on this. Let me see. Yeah, so it was more like this one: developer backend, developer full stack, whatever that means, then front end, etc. And this year, so integration makes huge appearance this year. This not
yeah.
surprise, I guess, to anyone.
No,
It's
no.
always big topic in SAP space, and yeah, if to me, to be honest, if you're doing backend development, you are doing you must
You're
be doing some
probably,
integration. I
yeah.
mean, honestly, it's hardly possible without it.
It'd be,
So
I mean, how cool would it be to live in like pure ABAP land
yeah,
and just like
you're
only
like,
write ABAP
I
code
do
for,
not integrate anything.
yeah,
What do you mean?
like,
Like, what SAP
yeah,
integration? No,
yeah.
I don't
No,
do
thank
that.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so very, yeah, and it's kind of API development lumped together with everything. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Bro, do you even integrate?
oh my goodness. So yeah, so very kind of interesting, but also unsurprising results, I would
Yeah.
say. Um, yeah, recent SAP project experience. It's like honestly, I don't know why they keep asking this question. And who are the questions who are answering no?
Yeah.
Why are
That's
we
interesting.
answering this survey?
I,
What are
you know,
we doing here? Who are you,
I would
please?
love to get in the head of people who are like, I should fill out this survey. I don't do this,
Okay.
but I should fill out this survey,
Like
right?
I want to know, like, I didn't do any SAP real SAP work, but let me answer this survey. It's just mind-boggling to me. I don't know. It's like I don't
I
know
bet
how
you,
to even react to this.
I
Yeah.
bet you it's really entertaining to see like the individual data points come through.
Yeah.
There must be hilarious responses to things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, I really liked the way how some of the responses are organized in the Stack Overflow. So I wanted to share this very interesting kind of analysis from Stack Overflow. You see the way how they present this. You can see, let's say, just this one. It's you need to hover like very carefully. Like for example, this shows,
Oh yeah.
and this is some kind of cloud, I don't know, platform subject, but I just wanted to show you way of presentation. So this shows people who work and who replied about Firebase. But if you hover over some of those kind of connections, it shows your relationship between like, oh, people who answer this, they also answer this. So I think it's really
Mm,
great way to show
yeah, that is really
different
cool.
kind of different presentation of data. I thought it was just really 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 cool way of showing these relationships. I really wish we had more kind of information on this and how it correlates with the rest of it. So all right, so moving on this narrowing the response set. Programming languages, definitely much bigger list in Stack Overflow than here. Again, ABAP is leading, JavaScript is second. Java is third. It's still a bit surprising to me. I'm not really sure what those folks are doing. Python, yeah, definitely
Yeah.
popular in SAP world. There is even open SAP course about Python for SAP professionals.
Yep.
But overall, yeah, I don't expect like huge variety like I would in Stack Overflow. So
Yeah.
until ABAP gets surpassed by something else,
Yeah.
I don't really have any special reaction to this. It's kind of the
Yep.
type of answer. Programming frameworks, it's to me as an ABAP developer, I like there are frameworks like for backend development, like there's something else. So I find it interesting that somehow ABAP for S4HANA and ABAP for ACC or earlier, they are kind of noted as different frameworks.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Like this is just confusing to me. I don't know. I don't view it as different framework, but again, I don't really there isn't really framework concept in ABAP, I think, to begin
Yeah,
with.
it's
So
it's a little different. Yeah.
yeah, it is a bit weird. Not what I would compare to like Java or whatever
You know
world.
the reaction I had to this
Mm-hmm.
one was that SAP UI5
Mm-hmm.
is clearly one of the most useful things to come out of SAP, like development tools wise,
Mm-hmm.
in a long time. Like it gained popularity inside of SAP for like delivering their solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and relatively speaking, in the SAP developer community, it gained popularity as like, yeah, we like using this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Relatively speaking. Um, like this of course that goes like basically down to zero if you zoom outside of SAP, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
like in SAP UI5 is impressive in that respect to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's
I think that team does a great job.
yeah. And it's interesting. Fiori Elements is very kind of close second. So I
Mm,
think
yeah.
it's also really great features that is easy to explore for ABAP developers as well. So yeah, so very kind of expected results here.
Yeah.
So next we are moving into IDEs and command line usage. I don't know who even put like command line here, but I guess it's a new trend in SAP BTP development. That's what I mean.
Mm,
Not new trend
yeah.
for the rest of the world, but in SAP it's kind of still niche, I think. Preferred ID, it's sometimes not really a question of preference. There are some things that you cannot do in SAP GUI anymore. I mean, I have nothing against SAP GUI. I like it for what it's good for. It's good for what it doesn't
It's
do. I have to use something else, whether I like it or not. So I honestly, to me, if you ask me what I use, I can give you a response. Do I love those tools necessarily? No, but then yeah,
SAP
again.
GUI, SAP GUI is like, if I had to rank my favorite like programming environments across the whole universe,
Hmm.
SAP GUI is not my favorite thing to
Yeah,
program in. If I'm programming for SAP, SAP GUI is pretty darn useful. I
yeah,
mean, I get that there's maybe some better code writing experiences elsewhere, but like
yeah,
SAP GUI is crazy useful
yeah,
for SAP development still.
yeah, yeah. I like debugging. I
Yeah,
like the
it's got
fact that I mean I'm already familiar with it. So
yeah,
that definitely plays a big role for me. Someone who doesn't know squat about SAP GUI, learning that right now is definitely a different story.
I'd
And I
also
just
I'd also definitely like to talk to people who are productively using Business Application Studio.
Mhm.
It feels like that tool has it feels like it hasn't gained as much traction as I thought
Yeah,
it
where
would.
where is yeah, it's like
Yeah. I
really
mean, it's there, it's got a presence,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
kind of feel like given what BTP represents in this survey,
Mhm.
I think I would have thought that maybe BAS would be a little higher
Yeah,
up the chain here.
yeah. I just pulled up similar question on the Stack Overflow
Yeah,
and much higher percentage likes Visual Studio Code, and
yeah,
for Eclipse we had to scroll down
yeah,
quite a bit. It's
yeah.
less than 10% use Eclipse. I mean yeah, in wider developer community Eclipse doesn't get much love, I would say.
No.
Again, I'm kind of like I said, we don't really have much freedom, to be honest, in SAP
Yeah,
world sometimes when it comes to platforms.
yeah.
I know many developers would prefer to use VS Code even for our development. It's
Hmm.
definitely possible, but I think it's still quite challenging because
Yeah,
SAP is like so like invested into this Eclipse thing,
yeah.
which again I have my own kind of gripes with Eclipse that mostly have to do with their UI. So but
Yeah,
again, it's like, what do you do? I mean, you have
yeah.
to adjust to what you have. All right, so let's see what else is there. Business technology platform environments. I kind of scrolled past this analysis. I honestly like I don't know. I couldn't care less about this thing. I don't know if it makes a difference. Um, Neo is kind of gone pretty much, so I don't know honestly between Kima, Kaima, however you pronounce it, and Cloud
Kima doesn't
Foundry.
have much like
It's yeah,
the only
like,
reaction I had to this section here was there are no numbers on these bars at all.
yeah. Probably need to
So
yeah, you
I
need to
don't
hover
know
over them.
like they are there on
Yeah,
the bars.
yeah, they're
Oh,
on the
okay.
bars. Yeah.
I take back
So
my
this one
skeptical
is
eyeballing of that. Yeah.
yeah, but also look at the numbers like
233.
233 out of 2000, and keep in mind again, as as we talked for like good 10 minutes in the beginning, who answered that survey, it's
Yeah.
probably people, like you said, people who care. And I think it's probably people who visit SAP community and probably doing
Yeah.
like a lot actively with
Yeah.
SAP and even doing anything with cloud. So I don't know. I mean, what really this represents. I mean, ABAP environment, yeah, again, you're using, but I think with SAP naming, there is probably a lot of confusion. What does
Yeah.
BTP ABAP environment even mean, to be honest? So I don't know.
We're just yeah, I just we're and what's interesting to me too is that we are looking at the what I am just assuming
Mhm.
are the most passionate people
Yeah,
in the community or in the among people who do SAP dev.
yeah.
And like what's the little graph say for Kima currently using?
Like aware but never tried. It's
Yeah,
like,
what
yeah,
is it
I've heard about it, but when you currently
like
like 20 people out
I
of
totally
2000, out of hundreds of thousands, I don't know
I
why.
don't know if I've ever personally talked to somebody who's like, yeah, Kima's cool and I use it.
Yeah.
You know, I just
I
maybe
I
it's a different
talked I
circle
talked to some
than
people who use it, but honestly, those people just use like pretty much everything. So
Yeah.
that's also, yeah, but yeah. All right. So use of GitHub, that's also kind of interesting question. I and I had this thought here. Sometimes I answer similar surveys and you see questions there and you look at it like, oh crap, is this like people are doing this? And I'm kind of, should I be doing this? If I answer honestly, I'm gonna look like a moron, and I don't want to look like a moron. So I think I'm gonna just answer yes, like kind of sheepishly, even though it may be not entirely true. So it's like, for example, if you're like audition to be an actor in some movie and they're like, do you have like any acting experience? And you tell them, oh yeah, like I watch Netflix all the time. It's kind of, I think it might be just one of those types of questions because
That's
I
funny.
wouldn't say I contributed myself to GitHub like the whole lot, if anything, if I'm being
Yeah. Yeah.
completely transparent. But if you ask me like, do you even use GitHub, bro? I would be like, yes, like of course. I mean, I don't want to be in that no percentage of
Yeah.
losers who don't use it. So I'm kind of, yeah, like I don't know.
Well, and
It's
the question too, do you use GitHub at work and or for your own projects?
yeah,
Like I kind of imagine that
yeah,
like because there are some great OSS or there are some great developers in the SAP world
yeah.
who publish code to GitHub,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
awesome stuff. Shout out to those people.
yeah.
But I think in many cases, GitHub is probably not where your professional work is going in
Mm,
the SAP world. It's
yeah.
a little more often like privately hosted Git, or if you're just not a person slinging your regular app, it's probably just the transport system,
Mm,
right? So, but yeah, so I do feel like that for your own projects clause probably kicks it up quite a bit.
mm,
Right? Because if you get curious about anything outside of SAP, GitHub is like where you go to check it out, right?
yeah,
Check out the code. So
yeah.
yeah.
And it's not 7 people, it's 7% who don't know what GitHub is
So
again.
that's
Who
funny
who
too.
are you? Like
Who are you?
why are you why are you filling in this survey? It's really sad, to be honest, if someone does something in SAP and doesn't know anything. So it means they don't know what clean ABAP is because that's on GitHub. They don't know what ABAP Git
Yeah,
is. That's obviously on GitHub.
I
It's,
feel like
I
some
don't
people
know.
just kind of get unfortunately sheltered away from stuff too.
Yeah,
Like their work environment is such that you can't do nothing but your work and you're swamped to heck. And by the
yeah,
time you close your machine at the end of the day, you're like, screw it, I am done thinking about computers, right?
yeah,
Because you get beat up for crap that you have no control over at work.
yeah,
It's because like I honestly I don't know how else to say this. I feel like at least my experience of being an SAP developer at a place that had other kinds of developers too, like the large companies I've worked with, the SAP developers always had the biggest handcuffs on,
yeah, yeah, that's
you
true.
know?
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's, whew, yeah, definitely. Yeah, heavy thoughts.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. So
Anyway,
use of select SAP technologies. This was a little bit honestly confusing to me. It
yeah, I'd
seems
be
like
curious to know.
very strange kind of SAP's own hierarchy. And I know that SAP people do that. They think that
Yeah.
stuff on their like material master makes total sense outside of their
Yeah.
HQ,
Outside of their
but it
domain, yeah.
doesn't. But it
Yeah.
doesn't really. Many times I look at what, or rather hear what SAP people are talking about. Like, I have no idea how you even like build some kind of hierarchy and separation like from one to another. How do you
No.
like compartmentalize your things?
No.
Like
Yeah.
integration suite, yeah, that's kind of a product. HANA Cloud, to be honest, after all those renamings, I'm super confused what exactly this means. And then like all other HANA like on premise, and I mean S4
The
HANA,
HANA,
does it fit
yeah.
here? Does it fit here? Where is it? And what is this stuff? So I honestly don't know, but obviously some people like 30% they made some sense of it, and I guess they maybe also kind of threw dart at it, like that's what I think it is, that's what I think I'm using, and just
Yeah,
answer to
because
the best of their abilities.
I definitely like the SAP HANA Cloud thing is probably the best example here in this group of things that are like the name changes and stuff over the years means that because when I see that, I interpret that as like SAP's like HANA as a service, right?
Yeah,
Not S4, not whatever else.
yeah,
But in the past, HANA Cloud meant the HANA Cloud platform
exactly,
and and
exactly.
and all that kind of stuff too. So like I like and frankly I don't know, like I guess we are talking to the passionate people. It is surprising to me that 32% of these respondents are actively using
Mm-hmm.
HANA Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've never come across people who use like the HANA
Yeah,
as a service,
yeah,
that kind of thing.
yeah, yeah.
But
Rather,
that's probably my sheltered, like just like these people, I am also like a giant filter of my own into the certain projects that I get into,
mm,
right? Of that stuff too. So
developer satisfaction with SAP. So this one has the actual question here. How would you describe your role satisfaction with SAP? So satisfied, very satisfied. I mean, if they're not, yeah, neither nor, dissatisfied, low percentage, I guess those people either don't fill surveys, or they just don't really do anything with SAP.
yeah,
They just they just know out of it very early. Um, yeah, it's a bit fuzzy question too. Like satisfaction with SAP, it's a little bit broad question. I would cautiously answer yes, probably, or neither. So yeah, I don't know, Paul. Any thoughts on satisfaction here?
so I do agree. I definitely do agree that like satisfied with SAP is, and it's probably intentionally vague-ish, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'm not quite sure how I would even interpret it either. I'd probably
Yeah,
land somewhere in the satisfied bucket, just
yeah,
from the standpoint of like
yeah. I mean, it's
I don't
okay.
have too much to complain about, I suppose.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Yep. All right. So cloud provider. So this was also a question last year. Very similar breakdown, almost like 50-50. So yeah, I don't know, nothing much to talk there, I think.
yeah.
Low and no code tools. So let's take a look at this one. So there, yeah, similar question from 2022, more interest this year. Um, Again, I think, yeah, I mean, obviously trend up. Again, no surprises there.
No surprise there.
Yeah.
Just all those tools got love. And I think kind of in the midst of last year is when they announced a better focus on low code and no code at
Mm-hmm.
SAP, with
Mm-hmm.
build becoming like a unified catch-all for that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I can definitely see where there's some more awareness just on the SAP front here. And of course the 800-pound gorilla in the room is that it's not just SAP that has these tools,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So are these people gauging their interest by the SAP build tools or by low code, no code in general? Because there's some
Yeah.
pretty good stuff out there that's not SAP. And I'm not saying that SAP is bad. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
that other tools are also pretty darn good in this space. In
Yeah.
fact, if I just express my personal opinion, I'm not afraid to say this. I think Microsoft has the best low code, no code platform.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
I would,
yeah,
yeah, I would be curious to have more, kind of dig in more into this
yeah.
information. But as far as SAP comes, I think it's okay. So learning and help resources, that really has not changed much since last year. So I did some comparison. It doesn't show it here, but last year, I think full online courses, they were just one position above on the job training. So they dropped a little bit, which I think might make sense. There seems to be a little bit of oversaturation, I think, in this space. What do you think, Paul? Any comments on this?
The only thing I have, like I have this thought about books
Mm-hmm.
and how I think books are continuing to kind of slide
Yeah.
down this scale probably.
Mm.
Like books was easily my, like when I was growing up as a little sport developer back in the day, um books were my main source. I just
Yeah.
gobbled up the books. But
Yeah.
now if I want to learn something like dev wise,
Hmm.
I I may not go, I probably won't go to a book. And especially these days, like go like if I need to learn something, I need to kind of just quickly add it to my tool belt, and the book is not the fastest way to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It
for
may be
yeah.
deeper, but
Hmm.
it's not faster,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely. And I mean, back in the days, there was no YouTube,
Yeah,
no choice really. If when back in 2000, I wanted to learn Java, getting a book was pretty much the only way. There were some resources online, but nothing like we have these days.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely different times. Um,
Mhm.
Top SAP help resource sites, there have been really no change here to speak of. I mean, obviously SAP community is the top one, and that's where also
Yeah,
survey was hosted. So yeah,
yeah.
it's kind of no shit department. And
I have no response to that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
what I would
technical
expect.
certification was also a question last year. I don't think it really kind of meaningful how many certificates you have. I don't know who cares about this. Learning Hub, same numbers, like roughly like 50-50. Yeah,
Yeah.
no huge difference. Yeah, no, yeah, no comments from me on this one. So we're at the bottom of SAP survey, but there was one item, Paul, that I wanted to share from the Stack Overflow survey. Let me pull it up. I just found this very interesting question. So they had a question about what they call asynchronous tools, and among those, Jira and um, some other tools. They were
Oh,
top
sure.
ones.
Azure
But
DevOps, that kind of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
Azure DevOps, that kind of thing. And this was about synchronous tools. So these are communication tools between developers. And it's interesting that Microsoft Teams, Slack, Zoom, and Discord are leading here. There was also a twist on this question later on where they asked which tools. So this is what people are actually using. But then there was a question like what you would like to use, and the breakdown was slightly different. And Discord and WhatsApp were actually leading
I can see
items
that.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
Microsoft Teams was much lower on the list. I'm curious if similar question was asked in SAP survey, whether it would be different or lower. I think Discord would probably be much lower there as a
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah.
Microsoft Teams, I would expect to kind of lead there
I
just
think it would
because
be, of the
it's
things that
it's
people
what is there.
use,
Yeah.
it would dominate. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like Microsoft Teams, like whoop, like that far. So
But yeah, I
yeah.
mean, I'm kind of in agreement in terms of like, if I had my choice, I wouldn't be using Teams,
Yeah.
you know? And it's weird because
Yeah.
Teams is so powerful and has so many good features in it in principle,
Yeah.
but I just don't like using it.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Yeah.
just like, bleh, you know?
Yeah. And I feel it kind of became its own enemy over
Yeah.
time. I think where it started, it had some features that were like really awesome. It's just like Skype, I think.
Yeah.
Skype like a few years ago, awesome. Now like so yeah.
Boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do another podcast about just this subject. Dunk on Microsoft Teams. All right, so dear dear viewers and listeners and random passersby. So that was our hot take on SAP Developer Survey. Hoping to see the survey next year, and yeah, would be interesting to watch what happens in
Yeah.
2024. All right.
Yep.
In the meantime, like and subscribe as usual. Read our newsletter, watch our videos, and we will see you next time. All right.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
everyone.